Dan Bell, a veteran urban explorer known for his YouTube channel, often ventures into forgotten places, capturing the dilapidated beauty of abandoned buildings. His videos usually focus on the eerie silence of these places, not on the search for the supernatural. But a trip to an orphanage takes a dark turn that leaves even the most skeptical viewer shaken. The asylum is located on the outskirts of a small town surrounded by dense woods. From the moment Dan arrives, an oppressive atmosphere hangs in the air, as if the building itself is warning him to stay away. The exterior is cracked and old, with vines snaking up the walls, but it's the windows, staring in like sunken eyes, that give Dan the feeling of dread. Once inside, a sense of unease sets in. The air is thick with dust, and a faint, musty smell permeates the air. Dan's footsteps echo ominously through the empty hallways. As he films, he begins to narrate his thoughts, commenting on the decay and decrepitude of what used to be the orphanage. Then, without warning, his camera battery explodes in his hand. The shock jolts him, but as a seasoned explorer, Dan chalks it up to an unfortunate accident and continues deeper into the asylum. But things only get stranger. As Dan turns a corner, the screen flickers for a moment, and he catches a glimpse of something, a faint human figure, moving just beyond his field of vision. Reviewing the footage later, he realizes it wasn't just a trick of the light. It looks like an arm, beckoning, as if someone is motioning for him to be quiet. A chill ran down his spine, but he continued. In another room, Dan's camera had caught something terrifying. Through a small hole in a door, something seemed to be looking back at him. At first he didn't notice, but when he reviewed the footage, he could see it clearly. A pale face looking at him from the other side. It was only for a moment, but the fear it caused lingered. He moved quickly, his nerves worsening, but he wasn't ready to leave yet. A few minutes later, while filming a room stained with old blood, Dan heard a voice. The voice was faint but unmistakable. Get him. His heart pounded as he turned around, finding the room empty. He felt the crushing weight of being watched, of not being alone. The rational part of his mind fought to push it away, but the feeling was too strong. By the time Dan decides to leave, he believes something, or someone, is watching him. In the final shot, he glimpses a white figure disappearing around a corner. It matches the figure he saw through the keyhole earlier. Dan rushes outside, feeling a sense of dread that doesn't go away until he's far from the asylum. Later, when he reviews the footage, Dan speculates that perhaps a former patient has returned to the asylum, living in the shadow of the only home they've ever known. Others believe it's something darker, an encounter with a spirit, or worse, people with bad intentions lurking in the ruins, waiting for an intruder like Dan. Whatever it is, Dan knows one thing for sure. He'll never go back there again. If you found this horror story as chilling as I did, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more creepy stories. Your support not only helps us grow, but also ensures you never miss out on our latest creepy content. Parley's Island in South Carolina is a place where the past still lingers like a mist over the ocean. At first glance, this sleepy little town seems peaceful, with quiet beaches and old-fashioned southern charm. But beneath this serene exterior lies a chilling legend. The tale of the Gray Man, a ghostly apparition said to appear before storms, warning locals of impending disaster. The legend has been passed down through generations, with sightings dating back as far as anyone can remember. The Gray Man is always described the same way: a shadowy and distinct figure, shrouded in a gray cloak, moving silently along the shore. Some say he is a man who died in a shipwreck, his spirit forever tied to the island, warning the living of storms that will soon claim more lives. In 2018, as Hurricane Florence barreled toward the East Coast, a video surfaced that sparked fear in the town. Captured by a Coast Guard surveillance camera, the footage showed a strange gray figure moving down the boardwalk, right in the path of the approaching storm. The figure was faint, almost invisible, but unmistakably human. Locals who saw the video quickly identified it as the Gray Man. The timing was too perfect, too strange to be a coincidence. Those who saw the Gray Man knew what the sight meant. They had to prepare for the worst. And sure enough, Hurricane Florence brought devastating winds and flooding to Parley's Island, just as the Gray Man had appeared to warn. To this day, the video remains a source of controversy. Skeptics say it was a trick of the light, perhaps a shadow cast by debris blowing in the wind. But those who grew up with the legend know better. The Gray Man is real, and his warnings cannot be ignored. For them, the footage is proof that some things cannot be explained by logic alone. It is a reminder that the past is never truly gone, and that some souls remain, bound to the places where they met their end. In the quiet town of St. Mary's, Georgia, sits the Riverview Hotel, a historic building that has been in existence since 1916. It has hosted countless visitors over the years, but some say not all of them have acted. The hotel is notoriously haunted, with reports of strange happenings ranging from objects moving on their own to ghosts appearing in the hallways. When a YouTuber known as Time to Play TV heard about the Riverview Hotel's haunted history, he decided to stay the night, hoping to capture some paranormal activity on camera. He booked a room and arrived at the hotel both excited and nervous. The hotel's old-fashioned charm did little to calm him. It felt like stepping back in time, to a place where the past was still very much alive. Once he settled into his room, strange things began to happen almost immediately. The fan, which had been running steadily, suddenly turned off, only to turn back on a few minutes later. The bathroom door, which he had left ajar, slowly creaked. At first, he tried to explain it away. It could have been a draft or a faulty wiring system, but deep down, he knew something was wrong. As night fell, the noises continued. The fan kept turning on and off, each time sending him into a panic. The bathroom door, which had seemed to close on its own, now slammed shut, even though no one had touched it. The YouTuber, now completely freaked out, decided to set up a camera to record the room while he slept, hoping to capture whatever was causing these strange phenomena. The house at 112 Ocean Avenue in Amityville, New York, is both infamous and unassuming. Located in a quiet neighborhood, the house looks like any other in the neighborhood. But in 1974, the house became the scene of one of the most notorious crimes in American history, an event that would forever associate the address with horror. On the night of November 13, 1974, 23-year-old Ronald DeFeo Jr. took a rifle and systematically murdered his entire family as they slept. His parents and 4 siblings were found shot to death in their beds, their bodies lying in the same strange positions as if they had not even moved during the attack. The brutal nature of the crime shocked the nation, but what happened next was even more horrifying. 13 months later, the Lutz family purchased the house at a significant discount, aware of its gruesome past but undeterred. They moved in, hoping for a fresh start. But within days, strange things began to happen. George Lutz, the father, found himself waking up at 3:15 a.m. every night, the same time Ronald DeFeo had committed the murders. The youngest daughter, Missy, began talking to an imaginary friend she called Jody, whom she claimed was a boy who lived in the house. As the days passed, the activity increased. The family heard strange noises, doors slammed shut, and a strong stench would fill the house at random intervals. One night, George saw a pair of red eyes staring at him through the window, but when he ran outside, nothing was there. One of the most chilling pieces of evidence was a photograph taken during the subsequent investigation. The photo showed a young boy standing in the corner of the room, his face partially obscured by shadows. The boy resembled the youngest DeFeo brother who had been murdered in the house. Investigators believed the image represented the spirit of the dead child. The sight of the photo, with its ghostly image, only added to the Lutz family's fear. Despite the mounting evidence, skeptics questioned the authenticity of the haunting, suggesting that the Lutz family may have fabricated the stories to capitalize on the house's dark history. However, the Lutz family themselves remained convinced that they had experienced genuine supernatural phenomena. They fled the house after just 28 days, unable to bear the persistent haunting. To this day, the Amityville Horror remains a landmark case in paranormal history. The house was later sold to new owners who reported no significant supernatural activity, but the legend lives on both in local lore and popular culture. Books, films, and documentaries have attempted to capture the essence of the Lutz family's terrifying ordeal, though the truth remains a subject of debate. The house itself is a haunting reminder of a past where the lines between reality and the supernatural seemed blurred. Whether one believes in the paranormal or not, the story of the Amityville Horror has left an indelible mark on the world, proving that sometimes The scariest stories are those that come from real-life experiences of fear and the unknown. In a remote part of rural Japan, where trees grow thick and mists roll in, there is an abandoned house with a dark reputation. The house, isolated from the nearest village, has been abandoned for decades, and stories about the house are whispered among the locals but rarely spoken. A YouTuber known for exploring abandoned and supposedly haunted locations decided to investigate this particular house. His fascination with the paranormal led him to the deserted structure, armed with a camera and a sense of curiosity. As he approached the house, an eerie silence fell upon him, broken only by the rustling of leaves in the distance. The once magnificent estate was now a skeleton of its former self, with windows shattered and doors hanging limply from their hinges. Undaunted, the YouTuber set out on his exploration. As he filmed outside, a strange sight caught his eye. A pale, gaunt hand protruded from the corner of the house, clutching the edge as if someone or something was peeking out. The hand quickly disappeared as he approached, and the YouTuber, confused but determined, entering the house, he was immediately overwhelmed by the oppressive darkness inside. Dust hung in the air, and every step he took seemed to echo the ghosts of the past. He set up his camera in the main room and began to explore further, moving cautiously through rooms and documenting the dilapidated state of the once inhabited space. As he descended into the basement, the atmosphere grew heavier. Darkness seemed to come from all sides, and the air was thick with a musty smell. As he filmed, he felt a sense of being watched, an almost tangible presence lurking just out of sight. The camera's night vision revealed unsettling details. A shadow shifting in the corner, inexplicable movements that seemed to defy logic. Suddenly, he heard something that made his blood run cold. A soft, barely audible whisper seemed to come from behind him. He turned, but the basement was still empty. Though his rational side insisted it was just his imagination, the feeling of being watched persisted. Every creak of the floorboards, every shift in the darkness, felt like a silent, invisible watcher. Unable to escape the feeling, the YouTuber fled the house, heart pounding. The footage he captured showed a house shrouded in darkness and mystery, with unsettling signs of presence that he couldn't fully explain. Reactions to the video were mixed. Some viewers believed it was a genuine paranormal encounter, while others dismissed it as a cleverly staged hoax. Regardless of one's views on the supernatural, the YouTuber's experience in that abandoned house serves as a chilling reminder of the unknown. In remote corners of the world, where old buildings stand alone and stories of the past still linger, some mysteries remain unsolved, and some fears remain very real.